In Joshua to Kings, we want to develop a student's exegetical skill in being able to handle the text in a wise and discerning way. We'll do parts where we have larger summary sections, but we're also going to slow down and focus on a particular text, and usually that particular text in Hebrew. And so what we do is we'll translate them in Hebrew together, we'll lay out the problems together, the different options, so a student can learn, how do I work with the text, how do I let the text set the agenda in my preaching and teaching, how do I deal with problems in the text, because that's what they're really going to be doing when they graduate and are in their ministries. One of the things that we do is we let Deuteronomy set the agenda for how we read Joshua to Kings, so we have kind of an Old Testament lens on how to approach that literature. We also take our cue from the New Testament, specifically what Jesus says about himself and the Old Testament. In John chapter 5, Jesus is talking to those who are with him, and he says, you diligently search or study the scriptures because you think that by them you have eternal life. But then he says, these are the scriptures that testify to me. I want to understand how Jesus is the true and better Joshua, how Jesus is the true and better judge, the true and better prophet, the true and better king like David, the ultimate wisdom, even better than Solomon, the ultimate miracle worker or deliverer like Elijah and Elisha, those prophetic figures. I want to read the Old Testament not so much to discover things about myself, but to consider how these things bear witness to Jesus and how that gospel changes my life and everything I know and do. By the end of the class, I want students to understand that these books exemplify the faithfulness of God to his covenant people in light of their own unfaithfulness to him. And I also want them to be able to preach Christ from each and every one of those books and texts by the end of the class. And so we'll learn the content, its programmatic nature, how it fits into the history of Israel, but also how it fits into the whole redemptive historical plan of God, and how that culminates in Jesus, and how Jesus makes sense of those books for the students so they can preach and teach Christ from those books throughout the rest of their ministry.